What's up, you guys? It's Gavin here, coming to you from actually the future. So this is me recording this intro again after already filming this episode. So what you're about to watch here, and by all means, please enjoy this episode. There's a lot of great content and information in here. But post recording this video, we got the bombshell news about the James Robinson trade to the New York Jets. And inevitably, that impacts things that I talk about in today's episode. We actually kicked off today's video talking through Michael Carter as a buy low running back for Week 8 fantasy football. Now, you can crumple that take up and throw it in the trash. You can still listen to it if you'd like to, but whenever I say Michael Carter, replace his name with James Robinson, now there's a whole different situation to break down and analyze for all intents and purposes there. But of course, the expectation is that James Robinson becomes the eventual starter here and the most valuable back for this team. So I'm no longer trading for Michael Carter. That's, takeaway number one here. The second thing, we do talk about Travis Etienne in this video as well. This news is a massive positive for him. He's coming off of an 80% snap count percentage game in Week 7. And that's just going to continue to stay a very positive function of this offense. Now that's the Travis Etienne show. I said this to my Discord community last night, pre you guys watching this video in the morning now on Tuesday. I think Etienne becomes a top 12 PPR running back and an RB1 for all intensive purposes there. So there's a lot of trade fallout here. Again, you're going to have to take what I say for those two takes with a grain of salt. I understand this is a must-buy video, and that part of that comes with wanting to get these players at a discounted price, but it's plain and simple going to be harder to trade for Travis Etienne if your league mates understand the positive externalities of this move. So I still love trading for him. There's a lot of offers I would still make for Travis Etienne, but I do understand that price is going to be elevated a little bit here as we talk through today's episode and you listen to the things I had to say pre-trade news. So, and then one more time, you guys, do not overlook the fact I know the trade happened. I didn't know at the time I recorded this video because we were filming it pre-Monday Night Football, and then all of a sudden, not too long before kickoff, we got that information. And now J-Rob looks like he can be fantasy viable again. I'm really glad I hung on to him in a lot of the leagues just because he didn't really have much trade markets. There wasn't much else to do there. So keep all that stuff in mind for today's episode. Kick back, relax, you guys. Subscribe if you're around here, and let's dive into the video. One more thing. I do have timestamps. So if you don't want to listen to the Michael Carter take, which again, replace his name with James Robinson, or just disregard it altogether, there are timestamps, so you're able to skip around the video. It's organized, so you can just hop ahead to whatever running back you want to listen to next and that type of thing. So don't go anywhere, you guys. This was a long-winded thing, but I figured I'd spend some time on it because it's a pretty significant issue and event going on here. So with that being said, we can dive in now. All right, here we go, kicking off today's episode. So of course, the first option to replace one of your injuries in leagues this week is going to be to go out and buy for Michael Carter, the reserve running back for Breece Hall. So the next man up for this Jets offense. Now, a quick note before we really dive into the details of Carter here is that he is available in a third of Yahoo Fantasy League. So there is a chance that depending on your league format size, he will be available. And of course, Carter's got a skill set that favors PPR formats very well. So keep an eye on that and keep that in mind based on, even if you're in a smaller league, if you're in a full PPR format, there might be some extra incentives for rostership here. Now, do I expect Michael Carter to be the same player Breece Hall has been as of late? Absolutely not. He's just simply not that talent, not that player, and he's frankly not really a workhorse running back build in this league. So we are going to see some Ty Johnson here. There is going to be a noticeable drop-off in terms of the productivity, the big play creation, and the overall effectiveness that this has in your lineup. But like I said, in PPR formats, you're looking at what could be rest of the way this year, a rest of season ranking assessment here, potentially a top 24, therefore, in my analysis here for 12-team formats, a running back 2 for the rest of this year, and potentially someone to lean on as a starting level caliber player going forward. So, as I said, he is available in 1/3 of Yahoo Fantasy League, so the opportunity to potentially not even have to buy low for him. And this is an offense that I've noticed recently really has an emphasis on running the football. They know defensively they're a buttoned-up team. They can play solid football for 4 quarters, 3.5 quarters, whatever they have to do. And for that situation, they're going to lean on this run game. So, as I said, expect some Ty Johnson sprinkled in here. You're going to see other faces in this backfield in various situations and roles at different point in times. But some crucial indicators of positivity for me when Breece Hall was on the field is that we saw Michael Carter gobble up a couple of those goal line carries and vultures and plays touches away. Now, they're a bit gadgety, and Breece Hall was on the field for one of the games where Carter scored 2 touchdowns, but there is the potential for that usage. So I think that the direction this ascending offense is heading, and right now they've kind of plateaued after the first month of the season, but in reality, it is a team that is, I still believe, ascending. They've got a lot of young core functional pieces here that can really make their impact felt on the football field on Sundays. And Zach Wilson, surprisingly, has delivered a level of sustainability in the passing game to the running backs, namely Breece Hall here, that I have not expected and didn't think would be the case. I thought there'd be a drop-off in that category post Joe Flacco. So Michael Carter, keep your eye on him. This is a guy who was the lead back kind of down the stretch for this team last year. He wasn't the leader for the whole season. He kind of had to function his way in through a committee-style offense, and it wasn't always smooth sailing for him last year, but he did make good plays in the passing game and get on the field in spurts and make some things happen. So I do want to mention, with Hall on the field, he is currently the RB31 entering into Week 8 here, and he has 10 or more touches, so double digits in terms of his usage in 6 out of 7 games this year. So Leonard Fournette moving into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense, another team that kind of struggled to find a consistent offensive output this week. Lenny and the Buccaneers really struggled. 3 points total for this team. Of course, Tom Brady probably hit rock bottom for his time with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it's been a pretty rough road here as of late, but Leonard Fournette's pass game involvement still has me very optimistic on his rest of season outlook, and I think in PPR formats gives him reasoning and an argument to be made for him potentially being a top 5 rest of season running back. Now, we've seen some Rachaad White sprinkling in this offense here and there. However, Leonard Fournette's really started to establish himself, and not even necessarily establish himself, but reaffirm the fact that he is the lead go-to guy. I think there was a little bit of a unnecessary scare in the community for a couple of weeks there, but Lenny's been out there doing absolute work. He has a last month basis here, so if we look back at the past 4 weeks, he's got 30 receptions in his last 4 games, and a guy who has 36 on the season in terms of overall pass catching involvement. So very, very impressive stuff here for Fournette. Excuse me, I forget if I said targets or receptions, but a player that is super involved in this factor of the game. If you've watched Tom Brady football throughout any point of his career, as a Patriot, as a Buccaneer, his running back plays a critical role in that phase of the game. And when things are struggling downfield, there hasn't been much of an opportunity to push the ball downfield and make splash impact plays. That's one of the areas this team's struggling in right now. He often turns, gets the ball out very quickly, and distributes it to Leonard Fournette in this instance, and that makes him a very viable candidate to buy low on here, because I think the outlook continues to get better despite the fact that his productivity this week was very, very poor. So the one area he has struggled this season is overall rushing opportunities. He's had a couple of really solid games, but outside of that, 5 of his 7 opportunities here to be the starter for this team, he's averaged less than or equal to 3 yards per carry. So inefficient play has been a very big problem for Fournette and this offense as a whole. You can chalk some of it up to Leonard Fournette himself. You can chalk some of it up to poor offensive line play, overall bad offensive football from this team. I am still, though, confident in Fournette as a top 12 running back going forward. And as I said, in those PPR formats where you get that boosted level of production from just simply catching the football, which he does a high number of times, and gets those opportunities on a consistent basis, the reason that I am targeting him here entering into Week 8. James Conner, another running back who I think is really kind of slipping away in terms of the hype he's getting from the fantasy community. I don't think there's a better time to buy low for James Conner than right now, because the price you're paying for him is so decreased based on the 3rd round capital it would have taken to acquire him in most 10 to 12 league formats in the draft process this year. His stock has fallen off the map. He's just had a really bad injury-riddled start to this year. He's been hampered in contests he's played. He's missed the last 2 contests as well. And I think that with the injuries occurring around the fantasy community right now, or the landscape of the fantasy atmosphere here, you've got a situation where teams need players that they can count on now. And if you can give them a player that, actually, I don't want to spoil the sell high running backs episode. You can go check that out after you're done watching today's video. But there are plenty of, blip opportunities to sell guys that might be starting for the next month or so, or have different short-term use cases that you could use to acquire some of these assets and get a long-term player for your team. I have no question in my mind that if James Conner is healthy and playing at a high level, which we know he can do because we saw it last season, He just needs to get the body part right. It's easier said than done, but I do believe it's possible here. He will be the lead back for this team. He'll get back to maybe not necessarily being quite the workhorse he was down the stretch last year, but he could be a guy easily over 60% of the snap share for this offense, maybe even pushing towards 65, 66% of the snaps here and getting those valuable goal line touches. The Cardinals offense took a positive step in the right direction this week, and I really felt an added level of assurance watching that team that I didn't feel going into the week. I think that DeAndre Hopkins, after the first quarter and a half or so, really started to find his groove, and I think that hopefully things will continue to get better as they get healthier and this offense gets back into sync as we make our way throughout the rest of this season. Before we dive into our second to last buy low running back for week 8 fantasy football, almost said week 7 there, make sure to check out Underdog Fantasy. They are sponsoring today's episode, bringing you guys today's buy low candidates. Underdog is my favorite way to go above and beyond to play fantasy football this season. They have phenomenal opportunities to play in-season prop betting contests, so pick a game. Any individual standalone contest, Sunday afternoon slates, you pick over or under for a player's rushing yards. So, for example, Travis Etienne, if his line's set at 42.5 rushing yards, you pick over or under, and then you can stack multiple players from different teams together and increase your payouts if you get all of them correct. So, I have a ton of fun doing that stuff. If you guys sign up for Underdog using code SFS, there is a link in the description of today's episode to get you set up with that. You will get access to my DMs on our community Discord server, and along with that comes you being able to ask me as many questions as you want, as many times as you'd like throughout the day, throughout the entire rest of this fantasy football season. So you'll get signed up for our SFS All Access Pass completely free for the rest of this season on our website, sizzlefantasy.com. Again, using code SFS on Underdog Fantasy gets you access to that. We've had a bunch of signups here over the last couple of weeks, and I've emailed those players the information they need to get that stuff set up. So if that's something you're interested in, again, check out Underdog Fantasy. When you deposit $10 or more, you get double your money with my promo code, and all of that is to keep for yourself and play with. So you can also check out different draft events they've got going on for Sunday afternoon slates. You can compete against other players for just 1 week. It's super fun. Build your lineup and team for that day, and then collect your winnings and move on. So super fun. Code SFS Underdog Fantasy into Travis Etienne, back into our regularly scheduled program. Here with Travis Etienne. Now, you can make the argument that the time to buy low on Etienne is past. This is a situation where we did this with Breece Hall, where the first month of the year we pounded the table here and said, buy Breece Hall. I don't care, he keeps scoring touchdowns and he's really overproducing his expectations right now. Keep buying him. The stock's going up, the price is going up, and it sucks that he's out for the season now, but he continued to get better. I think this is the opportunity that's at play for Travis Etienne. Now, I don't think he's the same player in terms of overall caliber that Breece Hall is, but I do think that this situation just keeps getting more fruitful for fantasy football success. Travis Etienne just had his first workhorse day of the season. An 80% snap share, 100% of the overall workload for this back. Actually, not 100%. I lied. JaMychal Hasty got touches, and J-Rob had a target. But I was essentially where I was going with that is that J-Rob did not have a touch here. So I didn't say the opportunity share because other guys had opportunities, but I did forget that Hasty had a touch there. So what you had here, though, was a complete stranglehold and domination of the Jaguars' backfield. If he does this again next week and takes off yet again, the buy window is officially slammed shut, and you lost out on your chance to get what a lot of us thought was a league-winning pick in the 3rd round of fantasy drafts this year, maybe the 4th round, depending on when you drafted. And it's been looking grim, and it's been looking a bit shaky and scary here. But if you just hung on and you just stuck through it, this is a guy now that I think is ready to peak and ready to pop. When one fantasy star exits, another one enters, and in comes Travis Etienne to be that player. Now, if we look at his productivity, the last 3 games straight, he has outsnapped James Robinson. This week, James Robinson was very, very, very far behind Travis Etienne in overall snap count percentages. And like I said, Etienne was up there at 80%. So he was the guy in there in frequent situations. I didn't watch that game snap for snap, but it was frequently up on red zone. Every time I saw the Jags in the red area, there was one play where both Etienne and J-Rob were in the backfield. They lined J-Rob up at fullback. And there was another play, or a collection of plays rather, where Etienne was the lone setback for this team. So they had the confidence in him. I don't know why they got him off to a slow start. Maybe it was risk management with his injury, Liz Frank injury they suffered last season. I don't know what the case was, but again, 0 touches for J-Rob, 1 target. The last 3 games in a row, he's outsnapped J-Rob. He's had 7+ yards per carry or more in each contest. He ripped another humongous 50-yard carry this week. He looks really great. And like I said, consistent playing time in the red zone is key here. Scored his first touchdown of his career this past week. All things you'll love to see, talk through, and obviously analyze. And then Christian McCaffrey, taking that nice old handoff from Jimmy Garoppolo there. This is our blue chip buy of the week. This is not necessarily a buy low per se, but this is a buy at a discounted stock rate. If you can find the knucklehead in your league that owns Christian McCaffrey and is pooping his pants because he only had 10 touches this week, that guy's an idiot, and he doesn't understand the context of the situation at play here with CMC. So he played just 28% of the snaps offensively this week. He had 10 touches for 62 yards, a nice 6.2 yards per touch, pretty efficient there. But the big but here is that he learned the playbook for this 49ers offense on Thursday night on his plane flight from Charlotte to Santa Clara, or wherever this team is based at, somewhere in San Francisco. He learned it on Thursday night. He played against Kansas City on Sunday. So the turnaround for that is absurd. I didn't even think he would be activated. Obviously, it was a ding. It sucked for CMC owners this week. And I still, the jury's out in terms of long-term what this means for this team. I think there's a lot of externalities at play between Debo and CMC and how these two impact each other's fantasy value. But there's definitely a discounted price on CMC after seeing this acquisition. If your league mate's on the other side of the table and they're going to play the card that, hey, he's going to be so much better at San Francisco, it's not worth your time to fight with them and try and buy him in that spot. But there will be players that look at the box score. Why wasn't he good? They were playing the Chiefs. They lost by a bunch of points. And for a guy who really game script is irrelevant to his skill set because he's so dynamic here, why didn't he do good? Take advantage of that panic. Put little Timmy in his place and take advantage of potentially buying for one of the better running backs in fantasy football the rest of the way this season across literally any format. So there you guys have it. 5 running backs to buy for Week 8 fantasy football. As always, if you enjoyed, smash the like button. If you're new around here, subscribe to SFS. We're looking to grow the community and help out as many fantasy players on a week-to-week basis as possible. One more time, check out Underdog Fantasy using code SFS. $10 or more you deposit, you get double your money, and then access to myself and any private questions you want to ask me about your teams, as well as lineup advice and help with all that stuff, weekly positional rankings on our website and the All Access Pass, all that great stuff. Take advantage of it. Code SFS and Underdog Fantasy, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.